Hey everyone, welcome back here to my channel where I play Plants Zoo. My name is Nissa and today we are taking a look at the Addax that finally got a home here in future Life Sub-Saharan Africa. And if you want to see how I built this or hear a little bit of the real world where they actually are doing a beautiful job at trying to help these beautiful animals, then please keep watching. Okay guys, first of all, we need to get something clear because a lot of us YouTubers, but probably also other people, have been mentioning that we get two antelopes in the area DLC, which we are a little mad about, but we actually do not, since the Addax is not technically a antelope. It does carry the name white antelope or screwhorn antelope as well as Addax, but the thing is that antelopes are in the Antilopinae subfamily, which is a subfamily under bovine. Another subfamily under bovine is the Hippotrachinae, where the Addax belongs, so it's not even in the right subfamily of antelopes. The Hippotrachinae is still antelope adjacent. Animal we do know in here is scimitar oryx and gemsbox sable antelope. So we have animals in here that we call antelopes, but aren't actually in the antelope subfamily. I don't think this excuses Frontier at all for putting these two in the same pack, but it's just, if we're gonna be mad at them, we kind of need to be mad at them for the right reason, if you ask me. Going in very close, we look at the genus, and you know, genus is normally only shared by extremely close animals and often will be subspecies. Under the Addax genus, which is Addax, we only have the Addax. We do not have anyone else sharing the same first name, but they do still have two names as animals do in Latin here, so it's called Addax nasomaculatus. Yeah, I know it's a mouthful, but we pronounce things as good as we can on my channel and then just hope for the best. Both of the two other names for the Addax, it being the white antelope and the screwhorn antelope, is very much describable name, since it is not necessarily clear white, but very light in colorations. They can have a few patterns, but that is still patterns between very light colors, and their horns does do this screw thing where they are bent in a circular motion going upwards or backwards, more like. Going to the IUCN Red List, we can see they are listed as critical endangered and their number are still decreasing, which already is not that good, but even worse being when the numbers of mature individuals are estimated between 30 and 90 mature individuals. The population is still resistant and surviving in both Chad and Niger, and possibly extinct and possibly alive in Mauritania. However, they are listed as extinct for both Algeria, Egypt, Libya, Morocco, Sudan, Tunisia, Western Sahara. So clearly, it's not going well for this beautiful animal. However, the good thing here is clearly that they can survive in quite a few biomes, being savanna, grassland, and desert, and furthermore, they can actually also live in the mountains and the scrublands. For climate zones, we are looking at the arid and the tropical, so again, they can survive in both, being adapted to both living in these extremely harsh environments and only getting the liquid they get through their food source, but also being able to live with places with a lot more foliage available and water also much more available. The Addax already have a few things that just simply aren't going their way. Luckily, the population is not fragmented that the way that it normally are in a lot of animals living in the same areas, but because they are nomadic by nature, they can move around. So maybe sometimes they are of course fragmented, but they will move past each other and meet up on several occasions. However, when you are an animal that live places where a lot of them simply will die, you only get one baby a year, and at the same time, each generation only lasts for around 7.6 years, then you already have a few issues going on clearly. Adding to that, they also have a few more issues that is simply not in their own hands. One being droughts. Again, if you live anywhere in the arid climate zone, there will be extremely dry seasons. And that's just how it is to live these kinds of places. You really can't do anything about it. Furthermore, we also have hunting, trapping, and terrestrial animals. Again, it makes sense because when the animals are starving in these areas and drying out because of the drought and so on, of course the people living in the same areas have the same issues. Going even further to agricultural issues where livestock simply are going for the same food and the same water, making there even less left for the Addax. And we can then add with even more, where we can see oil and gas drilling in this area is very, very popular and therefore also affect these animals vastly. I will say though, as we move on and get more modernized, it seems that oil and gas isn't really the future on the long run. However, I'm not believing that it will stop overnight, even though we would like to think so. A little backwards and talk about hunting a little more. There is two kinds of hunting. One being, oh, I want this pretty animal on my wall. One being, I just want to be able to say that I'm shot this, take a few pictures and move on. And then those being, I have to do this or my family will literally starve to death. That is very different issues and I want to take them into account. And of course, the ones actually eating it are very local, but looking at who actually sports hunting these or collecting these, then it is a more national and international issue where I think honestly a lot of these animals shouldn't be allowed to be hunted for any reason but for food. I love meat, I understand loving meat, and I also understand wanting to survive when there's literally nothing else to eat, but it's not fair that you come in and kill these animals for fun, and especially if they end up dying out, one being for the animals' sake, but also for the local sake that then won't be able to hunt them in the future and won't survive because they don't have enough food. And I personally think this is one of the weirdest factors never being talked about. We love to yell human rights and all of this, but the simple right to survive and eat the animals in your areas and have them for you who need to survive by them and not getting your food source stolen. That's simply crazy that's not a simple human right. For this next part, I'm gonna look specifically on the IUCN Red List of the Addax, and they have this category called conservation actions, and we have 4 different markers with different things under them. So I just want to go through this one by one. One action being in-place research and monitoring, and then they say action recovery plan? Yes, meaning that there is a recovery plan in place. But under that, it says systematic monitoring scheme, which is simply keeping a really close eye on them. And it says no. Again, these are nomadic animals, so they may be a little harder to keep an eye on than other animals. So I'm not sure if that's going into place here. But we have seen before with other animals where they get a tracker on them. And that works. But I'm not sure why it haven't been done here. Then the next thing is in place land/water protection. And then under that it says conservation site identified. And it says yes over entire range. So it's not only where they are for the summer, it's their entire nomadic range where they move over. Under that it says percentage of population protected by PAs, sorry, and that it says 91 to 100, which should be really good. Area-based regional management plan, it says no, which is funny because we have a recovery plan in place, but area-based regional management plan is not in place, which I'm not sure if it's because they think the action recovery plan is sufficient, or if it's simply that no one in the local regions are invested in this. That is also a possibility. And then under that we have occurs in at least one protected area, and it says yes. And again, we have protected the entire range. So again, we are going a little backwards and forwards. It doesn't seem that everything that could be in place here are, but at the same time we see that what it's needed is there. Anyway, next point is in place species management. And under that we have successfully reintroduce or introduce beingly. And it says yes, which is something that we really love to see, especially in future lives projects, because that's the idea, is that we either get animals that we want to make ready to be released, or we get animals where we will breed animals that could be released. That's the entire idea behind my future lives project, that it should be something like that. And here we can see that the Addax have successfully been reintroduced or introduced in some of these areas. Next one is subject to ex situ conservation, and it says yes, and we love that. The fourth topic here is in place education, and it says education in international legislation. Yes, and we love to see that. And under that it says subject to any international management trade controls. Yes, so it's something where we really care, because we could see a lot of the bad hunting, as I would call it. I know it's just my beliefs, I can't decide for others, but it's just how I see it. A lot of those can be controlled this way, and then still allowing people who really depend on eating these to do so. I will just mention my bill, because even though the Addax lives in two different climate zones and a vast difference between biomes, plants will only think it's a desert animal, and it is the animal most built for the desert. Of all animals in the world, pretty much, they are the most adaptable in the world, because they are so easy to satisfy with food and hydration and so on. However, they do also live the other places, so to give them a little of that but without giving them too much foliage according to the game, then I put all of the foliage here outside the habitat to just give this feel that this could also be a tropical area, or this could also be a savanna, or this could also be a scrubland, and just trying to give the feeling of multiple different biomes instead of just desert. Anyway, no matter how we look at it today, the Addax are in a place where they severely need help. And it is at a point where it won't be enough to simply just stop the bad factors that we already have talked about. Because no matter what, when you have a number so low, you will have inbreeding, you will get bad DNA. I know that's not the way to say it, but you know what I mean. You will have a lot of these issues, so we need help. Luckily, over time, a lot of zoos actually have Addax healthy and not that inbred because of the fact that they simply are in breeding programs. So all of that stuff is over control. So we have a big gene bank ready for your pegging. And at this point, it seems like reintroduction is the best we can do. So it's just to get on with that. But you can't actually just take zoos animals and say, now you're going to be a wild animal. You can't just do that. That would technically be stealing, because in the most countries, animals actually either belong to the zoos as property or to some kind of breeding programs. I know for some animals, it is actually the breeding program owning the animals and then lending them out to different zoos that are part of this breeding program. So therefore, you need someone to be okay with actually just giving up their property. And a lot of us don't want to. When we own something, we want it to be ours. We don't want to just give it away. That's just fact. So we need to find someone that are really, really, really nice and really want to make a difference. And they were luckily found. On AZA's website, it is the Association of Zoos and Aquariums website. I actually found an article and I would like to actually just read a part for you. I'm not gonna read the entire article, even though it states it's a 3-minute read, but the way I read it will probably take longer. So the topic of the zoo is St. Louis Zoo participates in reintroducing of Addax in Chad. A little below that, it says zoo helps provide satellite colors for post-release tracking of Addax. And then the first part of the article states, on 18th of January 2020, 15 Addax, 4 males and 11 females, raised in managed care in the United Arab Emirates, were released to the wild in the Kwadi Remi Kwadi Achim Wildlife Reserve in Chad. These animals had been selected, prepared, and transported to Chad by the United Arab Emirates Environment Agency Abu Dhabi EAD on 13th of November 2019. Upon arrival, they spent 2 months in a large acclimation pen in the reserve to allow the Addax to adjust to local foliage and climate conditions, as well as for observation. When it was determined that conditions were suitable, the Addax were transported to a new temporary release pen located in the appropriate habitat, 30 kilometers from the acclimation pens, and then released to the wild. Now, there is of course also other times where people have released Addax, and there's also much more in this article, but I do not have time to read everything and go into everything. This is just an example of one time it's been done. And yes, 15 Addax is not a whole lot, but again, if there's maybe only 30 left in the wild, then it's actually putting in 50% more which is really, really useful, and especially because of the new genetics we can get in there. Okay guys, that's all I got for you today. As always guys, you know the drill. Like, subscribe and turn on the bell notification so you know the next time I upload a video. I really hope to see you again, either in the comments below or in the next video. Bye guys!